This is the Hiboy P6 Electric Bike. The big win here is how easy it makes real rides feel, from city streets to loose gravel, without asking me to be a hardcore cyclist. I see this as a fat tire electric bike built for people like me who want stability, comfort, and a simple learning curve, with enough power to make hills and longer rides less tiring. If you want one bike that can handle weekday errands and weekend paths without drama, that is exactly where this fits. The first thing that stood out to me was the stance. The 26-inch wheels with 4-inch wide tires give it a planted feel. That matters the moment I roll off a curb or cross uneven pavement, because the tires soak up chatter that would usually rattle a regular bike. The aluminum frame feels solid, and the matte finish has held up to scuffs from locking it up and leaning it against rough surfaces. The battery sits cleanly in the frame so the bike does not look cluttered, and the key removal is straightforward, which is important for charging indoors. The seat leans firm rather than plush, which I prefer for control on rough paths. It adjusts enough that I can get a comfortable pedaling position, and I am 5 feet 7 inches. The front suspension is adjustable, which I really notice when I switch from pavement to washboard gravel. I can dial it softer so the front end does not chatter, or firm it up when I want a more direct feel on smoother roads. There is a bright light-emitting diode headlight that actually cuts through early morning darkness, and the electric horn is loud enough for traffic. For shared paths, I added a small bell because the horn can feel aggressive. Setup did not intimidate me. It arrived mostly assembled. I had to attach a few parts, align the front wheel, check the brakes, top off tire pressure, and charge the battery. Nothing felt technical. The control pad on the left and the simple liquid crystal display make sense right away. I can see my speed, the assist level, the battery gauge, and trip distance without squinting. The buttons have a reassuring click, and I have never had the display wash out under midday sun. I usually keep pedal assist at level 1 or level 2, because it still feels like a bike while giving me a gentle push. If I want a break from pedaling into a headwind or up a steep block, the throttle on the handlebar gives me instant help without any fuss. Power delivery is where I was pleasantly surprised. The motor is rated at 750 watts with a peak around 1000 watts, and in real riding that translates to brisk acceleration from a stop and enough torque to climb short, punchy hills without bogging down. On flat pavement, I have seen around 28 miles per hour with pedal assist and throttle helping. It does not surge or feel twitchy. The response is smooth, so I never feel like the bike is running away from me. The Shimano 7-speed drivetrain shifts predictably. I usually live in the middle gears and let the motor help span the rest, but dropping to an easier gear on a climb keeps my cadence steady and saves battery. Range is solid for what I need. With pure electric riding where I hardly pedal, I have gotten a bit over 30 miles on a single charge. When I use pedal assist at level 1 or level 2, I see roughly 50 to 60 miles, depending on wind, hills, and how often I start and stop. That is the difference between worrying about range on a weekend ride and just relaxing. The battery is a 48-volt pack rated around 13 ampere hours. Charging from low to full usually takes about 4 to 6 hours for me. The removable design is a lifesaver in an apartment because I can bring the battery inside, plug it in by a desk, and leave the bike locked downstairs. Ride comfort is the everyday benefit I notice most. Those fat tires at sensible pressure act like suspension even before the fork starts to work. On rough bike paths where tree roots ripple the asphalt, the bike stays calm. On gravel, the front end tracks straight rather than dancing across the top. On packed sand near the beach, keeping a light grip and steady throttle lets me roll without digging in. It feels forgiving, which matters when I am tired at the end of the day and my line choice is not perfect. There are some things I learned over time. The bike is not light. It is around 65 pounds. That weight disappears once I am rolling, and it actually helps with stability off-road. But it is not fun to lift onto a car rack by myself. If you live on a walk-up and need to carry it upstairs regularly, plan for that. Another note is the stock mechanical disc brakes. They stop the bike, but after wet rides they can squeal. I wanted a quieter and more consistent lever feel, so I upgraded to hydraulic brakes on mine and on my partner's P6. That change gave me smoother, stronger stops with less noise. Not everyone needs the upgrade, but if you ride fast or descend long hills, you will notice the difference. The seat firmness might feel stiff to some riders on longer days. I am fine with it, but if I were doing a long rail trail, I would swap in a saddle that matches my sit bones and maybe wear padded shorts. A typical week with the Hiboy P6 looks like this. I ride early before work on a mix of city streets and a crushed gravel path. I leave pedal assist at level 2 and spin at a comfortable pace. On short climbs, I shift down one gear, keep the cadence steady, and the motor fills the gap. On the way home, a headwind often kicks up near the river. I tap the throttle to punch through the gusts and keep my speed. On weekends, I run errands across town with a small backpack. Stop-and-go traffic is where the motor shines because I clear intersections quickly and get back up to a comfortable pace without feeling drained. I added a small mirror to the bar, and it makes lane changes and shoulder checks much less stressful. The headlight has enough throw for pre-dawn rides, and drivers seem to notice the beam pattern. The horn is loud enough to wake a sleepy driver at a right turn, though I switch to the bell on shared paths so I do not startle walkers. One specific trip stands out. I planned a loop with a long, gradual climb followed by a rough fire road descent. I set the fork a little softer than usual, ran the tires a bit lower for grip, and kept assist at level 1 on the approach to save battery. When the grade kicked up, I nudged it to level 3 and sat to spin. The motor pulled steadily without surging. At the top, I still had plenty of battery left. The descent had washboard sections and small rocks. The fat tires and the suspension kept the front end planted, and the frame never flexed in a way that made me nervous. Back on pavement, I firmed the fork one click, and the bike went back to feeling tight and composed. There are little touches that make the experience better. The battery lock works cleanly, so I do not have to wiggle the pack out. The display readout is simple and easy to read at a glance, and the backlight helps at dawn. The wiring is tucked away well enough that I have not snagged anything when loading groceries or looping a lock through the frame. Water spray on wet days has not caused any weird electrical behavior for me, though I still avoid deep puddles. The bike comes mostly assembled, and that lowered the friction of getting rolling on day one. A basic multi-tool and patience were all I needed. I see the Hiboy P6 as a great fit for beginners who want something unintimidating, and for riders who want to do it all-electric bike that can commute during the week and play on light trails on the weekend. I would steer you away if you need to carry a bike up several flights of stairs every day, or if you are chasing a super light, razor-sharp handling machine. But if you want stability, real torque for hills, a comfortable ride on mixed surfaces, and a layout that is easy to live with, this strikes a really nice balance. The weight and the stock brakes are the main trade-offs. Everything else has felt solid and reliable in my daily riding. It has made errands more fun, stretched the distance I am willing to cover, and got me outside more often without making me feel like I have to be an expert to enjoy it. I will post full information about the Hiboy 6 in the comments section. See you in the following videos.